within the all of it. To the brown boy, an ocean of blue lights flashing on your face. Recall the warnings of your father, who demonstrated on the kitchen table the proper positioning of hands when driving while black. The love of a man who preached how a calm voice can ease panic, who told his son how to reach for things he might be asked for. License, registration, a reason to be found anywhere. For the boy now grown, driving through a field of landmines toward home.
Welcome to Old Dominion University's 37th Annual Martin Luther King Jr. Observance. This annual event is very special to our campus and our community. This year's event is a true celebration and the final culmination of the university's month-long recognition of Black history. During his short but impactful life, Dr. King utilized his many gifts to deliver some of the most important speeches in the nation's history and galvanized the American Civil Rights Movement of the 1950s and the 1960s. He channeled his compassion and warmth by organizing communities around a common cause. And he rallied on the immense faith to continue an important fight despite threats against his life. Today, we proudly stand on the shoulders of Dr. King and other incredible leaders. It is our responsibility to carry on Dr. King's legacy. At ODU, we are fostering a learning environment that encourages inclusivity, diversity of thought, and equality. As a minority-serving institution, our campus is representative of our community in which we reside and serve. We are boldly and proudly breaking down barriers for students that are often underrepresented in classrooms across our country. Additionally, as one of Virginia's most affordable, high-quality institutions, we are helping to make higher education accessible to all students as they pursue their dreams. Without question, today's students live in a rapidly changing world and face unprecedented challenges. But one thing I know for certain is that Monarch students are true leaders. Their actions and ideas enrich the entire community, and their impact is felt far beyond our campus. That work is the embodiment of Dr. King's vision. His message of hope, peace, and respect are visible right here on this campus. Dr. King himself was the first and foremost a man of faith, and our distinguished speaker for this year's observance holds that same value. Dr. Barry C. Black is a retired Rear Admiral in the United States Navy and a former Chief of Navy Chaplains. He opens each session of the United States Senate with a prayer and provides pastoral care and support for senators, their staff, and their families. It was Chaplain Black who offered a prayer in the early hours of January 7th, 2021, following the certification of Joseph R. Biden as the newly elected President of the United States. Following Chaplain Black's address, you will hear moving poetry from Virginia's Poet Laureate and proud monarch, Dr. Louisa Gloria, and talented students from across the Commonwealth. This evening, we also will have the honor of bestowing the esteemed Hugo Owens Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Award on a member of the community who has made considerable contribution to civil rights, politics, housing, and social programs through leadership, dedication, and persistence over many years. It is now my pleasure to welcome Chaplain Black to deliver our keynote address.
Hello, I'm Barry Black, the 62nd Chaplain of the United States Senate, and I am delighted to have this opportunity to talk to you about understanding true spiritual success. In the 1960s, I was a freshman in college in Huntsville, Alabama. And in the mid-60s, Alabama was not implementing fully the 1954 Supreme Court decision, Brown v. the Board of Education. I had been blessed to matriculate at Christian schools from grade 1 all the way up to my freshman year, and of course I was at a Christian HBCU. When I got there, I was raring to go. I had received an education that I was told involved the harmonious development of the physical, mental, spiritual, and social powers. I was told that this education with a spiritual emphasis would enable me to have a joy of service in this world and a higher joy of a wider service in the world to come. You can imagine how excited I was. It was as if I was standing on the threshold of a new opportunity, of a new season in life. Now, I had been in Christian schools, grade 1 all the way up to then my freshman year and beyond. So I went downtown to worship at the church in a denomination that I'd worshiped in all my life. And I was turned away because of my pigmentation. A deacon who looked like a Green Bay Packer linebacker stood in front of the door and invited me and 3 other students to go elsewhere. You all will probably be happier, he said, worshiping with the coloreds. I don't know what happened. It was as if someone flipped a switch, and all of the moral and ethical and spiritual success I thought I had had for the previous 12 or so years, they suddenly disappeared in terms of my academic development, 12 or so years. And I was like Ingersoll, Robert Ingersoll, the famous American agnostic, who cried out, "Life is a narrow veil between the cold and barren peaks of 2 eternities. We strive in vain to peer beyond its reach. We cry aloud, but the only answer is the echo of our wailing cry." I'd been a pretty decent student, some would say a model student. I'd matriculated at a boarding academy, 11th and 12th grade. I'd been an oratorical contest winner, but suddenly I was getting into trouble. Now, at that college, when you got into trouble, you were sent to the dean of students. You usually were sent when you'd done something that was worthy of expulsion. I was sent to the dean of students 11 times in my freshman year and should have gone home. But a roommate of mine had a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and there was a speech by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that changed my mind. This was 1964. Well, actually 1966. And this was a few years after the March on Washington. And Martin King helped me to see what I think we as Americans should strive to think about when we commemorate his legacy, and that is understanding the meaning of true spiritual success. He said, "I'm glad God didn't tell me to like people. He told me to love them." And the reel-to-reel tape recorder was going around and around. Interestingly enough, he said, Greek philosophy comes to our aid, for there are 3 words in the Greek for love. I'm listening, not expecting to hear anything transformative. And one of these words is eros. Now, eros is a kind of aesthetic love. The philosopher Plato talked about it a great deal in his dialogues, the yearning of the soul for the realm of the divine, romantic love. And then there is phileo, Philadelphia, friendship, phileo, friendship love, reciprocal love, quid pro quo love. We love the people that we like. Martin continued, when God said, love your neighbor as yourself, he was not talking about eros. He was not talking about phileo. He was talking about agape. And in that marvelous baritone, he said, agape is understanding, creative, redemptive goodwill for all men. It is an overflowing love which seeks nothing in return. Theologians would say it is the love of God operating in the human heart. And when one rises to love on that level, he loves people not because he likes them, but he loves humankind because God loves humankind. That was a transformative word for me that pulled me back from the boundary of agnosticism and back to faith. Martin was fond of the Old Testament prophet Micah. Micah is the one who said, let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. Micah said something else which helps us to understand the nature of true spiritual success. The people in Micah's time, they were asking, what does God want of us? How can we meet God's requirements? Does he want more animal sacrifices? Does he even want human sacrifices? And Micah, in chapter 6 and verse 8, says, no, O people, the Lord has told you what is good. This is what he requires of you, to do what is right, or as the King James Version puts it, to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Do justice, do what is right. Justice has to do with rendering to all their due. Martin was talking about justice when he said, I have a dream that my body, when wet with the fatigue of travel, can find lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the city. Martin was talking about justice when he said, I have a dream. On the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down at the table of brotherhood. Martin was talking about justice when he said, I have a dream, and my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their characters. Render to all their due. And then we must love mercy. Justice is put before mercy, for we must not give to others things we have wrongfully acquired. The Beatitude says, happy are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. How merciful are you? When Martin went to help the garbage workers in Memphis, his last outreach, that was an act of mercy. And then finally, walk humbly with your God. Walk with humility. Captured in his last sermon at the Ebenezer Baptist Church, if you're around at my funeral, tell people not to mention that I've won a Nobel Peace Prize. Tell them not to mention where I went to school. I want somebody to be able to say in that day that Martin Luther King Jr. tried to give his life serving others. So let's celebrate his great life by understanding true success. Let us so live that we will meet God's requirement of doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly with the transcendent. God bless you.
Good evening. I'm Luisa A. Igloria, a faculty member of the MFA Creative Writing program here at Old Dominion University. I currently serve as the 20th Poet Laureate of the Commonwealth. I'm thrilled that 3 of the poets selected for my Virginia Young Poets in the Community Project are part of this program: Jaden Isaiah Brown, Kinaya Clemens, and Irene Sied. In the spring of 2021, feeling anxious about the pandemic and increasingly disturbed by the growing incidents of violence directed so openly towards Black, Indigenous, and people of color, I found myself starting to write poems addressed as a kind of open letter to America. Perhaps these poems could be seen as letters of complaint, but I also like to think they're a kind of love letter, because the speaker in them cares about the idea of possibility, not just for herself, but for others. Isn't that love, when you wish for something better for the other? I had the chance to read this poem at then Governor Ralph Northam's Juneteenth program at Fort Monroe in 2021. As an immigrant, a woman, and a poet of color, I'm also proud that it was one of 39 artifacts, including an expired vial of the COVID-19 vaccine, a Black Lives Matter sticker, and essays and poems from middle school children chosen to go into a new time capsule and buried on September 9 in Richmond at the site where the Confederate statue of Robert E. Lee had been removed. The poem has a short epigraph from a letter written by Abraham Lincoln in February of 1861, in which he says, "Working men are the basis of all governments." I've decided to read it for this Black History Month program because of its reminder that the business of race in America remains unfinished, and we need to continue doing what Martin Luther King Jr. described as the important labor that uplifts humanity. Dear America, American Dream. And now that we're told we have the dream, how do we make sure it doesn't deteriorate into a substandard or lapsed edition or, heaven forbid, a bootleg copy manufactured in a third world sweatshop of the dream? And is this set of papers the guarantee to which we have affixed at the bottom of every page and on every margin of every page the semblance of a seal, i.e. our John Hancocks, our signatures in ink whose upswept tails testify to our consent to the terms and conditions set forth thereby? Have we observed the proper decorum, that heady mixture conjoined of nervousness concealed under uncertain pride? Are we to believe your plumply jovial representatives, all pinstriped or suited up in black like undertakers? Which they are, in a manner of speaking, since it is admittedly such a large undertaking to raise one's right hand and solemnly swear before the book, the chair, the one holding the gavel in the chair, the alabaster one whose eyes are shielded by a blindfold. Oh, most cool lady whose face never registers the difficulty of holding up those scales. Does the dream we've been granted taste, smell, and handle like the ones our neighbors have? Does each of us down our block and around the city have the same level plot to cultivate, make, multiply, pull up by the bootstraps? What kinds of fences exist in the dream? And are there border guards who will check and check through our documents, though we've surrendered them more than the minimum times required, while others go on to pick up square after square of reward, never once being sent back, tasered, choked, wrenched from the arms off, sent to jail or detention, or disappeared or told to go back to start, do not pass go? And this, as you know, is history. Are people making their way through fields and orchards, shimmering like some kind of wet with dew or gold with sunset dream, their hands bleeding the grass as they go? Are children turning around and around in your funhouse mirror tunnels of the dream, lined with foil sheets and tinny music, running repeatedly into each other until one day the dream makes them forget who they were?
Hello, my name is Areen Syed, and I'm a sophomore at Norfolk Academy in Norfolk, Virginia. I enjoy reading, playing the cello, acting, and writing poetry. One of my main outlets for my writing has been the Virginia Young Poets in the Community Fellowship. Through this opportunity, I've been able to connect my passion for social justice issues and writing. I believe that poetry is a powerful tool that can be used to convey your emotions on these important issues. This is especially relevant during Black History Month. Many people believe that racial injustice has ended after the Civil Rights Movement. Unfortunately, that is not true, as it is still very much a part of our society today. I have witnessed numerous acts of discrimination against members of the African American community. Many people have forgotten the dreams of civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and abandoned the idea of having a just world that is free of judgment. So this Black History Month, let us all pledge to continue the fight against injustice by lifting our pens, educating our children, and raising our voices. Now I will be reading a poem that I wrote in honor of another civil rights hero, Congressman John Lewis. It's about his journey as a young activist during the Civil Rights Movement. The title of my poem is Why. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the country that stole my ancestors' lives, the country that continuously denies my opinion, the country that took away my voice, the country that told me I didn't have a choice, that I wasn't enough. The shackles my ancestors wore left marks on my hands. The houses Klansmen burned scarred my skin. The nooses around my brothers' necks took all my air. I can't breathe. The winds of injustice are suffocating me. I drink the same water. Why not from the same fountain? I eat the same food. Why not on the same table? I walk the same earth. Why not on the same side of the road? All these people are telling me separate but equal. But what I really see is you compromising Black people. What have I done? Why does my color define who I am? Why was I dealt the lesser hand? What happened to my rights? 18 years of war. For what? We fought against taxation without representation. Well, this is discrimination with justification. We live in a nation built on segregation. Hughes said, I too sing, but clearly that message didn't ring. How many years do I have to keep fighting for you, my country, to realize that my voice sounds the same as those white men up in the Capitol building? All these rules they make are doing more hurting than healing, treating our feelings like they're just some plaything. Don't you remember. My brothers have helped you win wars. My ma did your chores. My people swept your floors. For what? I'll tell you how much it hurts to tell your child, always listen to what the white people say. And even then, there's no guarantee we'll live another day. Whether it's getting shot or being told you're a criminal when you're not, it kills us. But I still have faith. For this is the nation of the strong and the great. I'll be your guide and show you what life's like on the other side. I'll sing for you. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound of all the promises you made me. Bravery is rewarded with liberty, but all my men still aren't free. I know you're lost, my country. I know you're blind, but I see. I see. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jaden Brown and I am a 5th grade student at Curtis Elementary in Chester, Virginia. I wrote this poem at the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement. I want people to know it's not cool to judge people by their skin color. I also want people to know all police officers are not bad. I really want to build better relationships between our communities and police. The name of my poem is Extra, Extra, Read All About It. Extra, extra, read all about it. What do you see when you see me? A black boy with no daddy, a single mom with no degrees, a track record for felonies. Extra, extra, read all about it. I'm a black boy with both parents. They have degrees and support our family. Black boys, you matter too. Don't let your hood define you. My future is bright and you should see, but in this world, you don't read about kids like me.
Hi, I'm Kenaya Clemens from Anna Julia Cooper Middle. I am from Richmond, VA. Black History Month means a lot to me because it's a month where people take out of the year to just celebrate and give back to the Black community. My poem that I'm reading for you today is about all the different groups and type of people that are in my class at the time when I wrote the poem. For My People by Kenaya Clemens. For my people who have a snack in each hand. For the people who wipe off crumbs and suck their hot Cheeto dust fingers. For my people who pay $20 for snacks. For my steaming hot steak, mashed potatoes, and mac and cheese, and rolls. For my foodie people. For my people who sit in the back of the class. For the people who say I'm okay with being alone. For my people who sit with their heads down. For the quiet, calm, secretive, and kind. For my quiet people. For the people who make jokes. For the people who laugh, play, jump, and run. For the people who hit you when they're crying, laughing. For my funny people. For my I bet I can touch the run people. For my beat shoes, callous hands. For my 100 push-up, 5-mile run. For my 20 sit-ups, for I'm better than a boy. For my tomboys. For the people who talk behind their friends' back. For the sneaky, secretive, talkative, and conceited. For the easy to befriend. For my fake people. For my music people. For my Alicia Keys, Mariah Carey, Usher, and her. For the Sunday cleaning people. For my using anything and everything as a microphone. For my rhythm and blues people. For my I can answer any question off the top of my head. For my no need to count on their fingers. For my intelligent, outgoing stars in the class. For my honors and straight A's. For my teachers' pets. For my smart people. For my melanin covered. For my Saturday cookouts. For my Sunday cooking, R&B playing. For my singing, shaking hips, praising the Lord, and all things holy. To the best mothers in the world, for my beautiful Black queens, for my Black people. These are my people. Thank you.
My father, the late Dr. Hugo A. Owens Sr., was an agent for change who faced blatant discrimination and injustice. He and Dr. King were visionaries. My father would often quote the first clause of Proverbs 29:19, where there is no vision, the people perish. I remember going to New Calvary Baptist Church in Norfolk when Dr. King spoke. My father hoisted me on his shoulders so I could get a good view. The memory is vivid, and I can still feel the excitement that was in the air. Today's imperative is to rise to the present moment with the dignity and tenacity that always has and now in these times is essential to a righteous cause. Dr. King liked to quote Amos 5:24 when he spoke. These words are now etched in his memorial. Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. This sentiment is central to his dream, the dream of actions that are not a dream deferred, nor limited to the pulpit, the street, the classroom, the legislature, the courtroom, the executive office, the boardroom, or anywhere else. There are many ways to pursue the dream. Much like the Reverend Dr. King, during his lifetime, my father was a leader in the civil rights movement and in our community. He initiated a lawsuit against the city of Portsmouth to win the right to use the city park and golf courses, and helped win a lawsuit to desegregate the city's libraries, and was part of a group of physicians and dentists who desegregated Portsmouth General Hospital. Some of his activities included serving as president of the Portsmouth branch of the NAACP. He worked or supported the Central Civic Forum, the Southern Christian Leadership Congress, the Congress on Racial Equality, as well as service organizations like Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. He brought federal attention to job discrimination at local naval installations by protesting at the main gate of the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. He supported Floyd McKissick in the quest to build housing development known as Soul City. And he was the first African American rector of Old Dominion University Board of Visitors. In honor of both these civil rights trailblazers, the Hugo Owens Martin Luther King Memorial Award is given annually in the MLK Observance to an outstanding individual or organization that has made considerable contributions to civil rights, politics, housing, and social programs through leadership, dedication, and persistence over time. I am honored to announce this year's recipient, Maurice Jones. Maurice dedicates his time to addressing the persistent intergenerational gaps in opportunity and wealth for Black Americans through ensuring access to opportunities to build skills and achieve success. He currently serves as the CEO of 110, which is a coalition of leading chief executives and their companies who are coming together to upskill, hire, and promote 1 million Black Americans over the next 10 years who do not yet have a 4-year degree into family-sustaining jobs with opportunities for advancement. Maurice is a Rhodes Scholar, lawyer, and businessman who grew up in rural Virginia. He has served in numerous capacities of importance, including president of Pilot Media, the largest print and digital organization in Hampton Roads, secretary of Commerce and Trade for the Commonwealth of Virginia, and Deputy Secretary for the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development during the Obama administration. Beginning with his role in publishing, Maurice has continued to use his expertise as a lawyer and a businessman to provide leadership in areas where his influence and ideas can improve the lives of others, particularly the livelihood of the disenfranchised. Prior to joining 110, he was president of Local Initiatives Support Corporation, LISC, one of the country's largest organizations supporting projects to revitalize communities and catalyze economic opportunities for residents. During his time at LISC, Maurice led the company's effort to expand its footprint into the southern part of the country, growing their annual investment from $1 billion to over $2 billion and launching a subsidiary company dedicated to small business lending. At this time, I am pleased to welcome Maurice Jones to accept this award.
I want to thank ODU, President Hemphill, the Owens family for this incredible honor. I'm humbled. I'm also motivated by it. ODU has been an organization that has been transformative for my family. I can't say thank you enough to ODU. My daughter started in early care and learning, child care. Her first months, her first years of life were spent in the care of ODU, and the nurturing and the love and the education and the development. My wife and I, that's our most precious gift. And what ODU gave to her and to us, I can never say thank you enough for. The Owens family, to receive an honor that bears the Owens family name. I know Dr. Owens fought so that all people could use city parks, all people could practice in the hospitals around this area, all people could go to the libraries. I just want to say thank you. I'm not worthy of an honor that bears Dr. King's name and Dr. Owens' name, but I'm going to do the best I can to try to uphold what they stood for, what they fight for, what they fought for, and ultimately what they died for. What they fought and lived and died for was for us to be a more perfect union, was for this country to be a country where we all, no matter where we start, we all have a chance to be ODU's president, to be the president even of the United States. That work continues. We still have to fight to create a more perfect union. You can just look around Hampton Roads now, and you can see that you can be born in certain parts of Hampton Roads and your life expectancy, largely because where you're born, is somewhere in the mid-60s. And you can be born literally 10 minutes away in Hampton Roads and your life expectancy is somewhere in the mid-80s. That's not a more perfect union. That's a risk of us creating two Americas. Dr. King and Dr. Owens were fighting for one America. It's up to us to continue that fight. I'm now a part of something called 110. 110 is a coalition of groups that have come together to make sure that Black folks without four-year degrees have an opportunity to earn their way into the middle class, to work for and compete for and successfully receive jobs that pay living wages. That is something I hope that we can do and do well in Hampton Roads, and it's something that connects me and us to the stories of Dr. King and Dr. Owens, and I look forward to taking this honor that you are bestowing upon me and using it to motivate me to do that work and to do it well and to do it with all I have. So once again, thank you to ODU, thank you to the Owens family. Let's all of us here in Hampton Roads work hard to create a more perfect union.